Okay, the other story we're following this morning is the address of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the Ugandan Parliament. Remember, of all the BRICS members, India is the only member whose economy is experiencing growth. So it's interesting. We'll be interested to hear what he has to say to the Ugandan government. But let's go back to Sandton right now. Arabile Gumede is standing by for the latest. Arabile, what is happening right now?
A very good morning to you, Arabile. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, good morning to you guys. Of course, the first day of the 10th BRICS Summit out here in Sandton in Johannesburg, the hub of where all the dignitaries will be at. It's not just the 5 BRICS nations, of course, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and of course South Africa. There's a whole lot more, including those from Turkey, Jamaica as well, coming through to set the agenda as to what the emerging markets need, and certainly will set forward. Perhaps they come under one umbrella this time, considering the trade situation going on around the world as well. But certainly to paint the picture, joining me here in studio is Luanda Mpongose, who is the Program Officer for African Governance and Diplomacy at the South African Institute of International Affairs. Luanda, thank you so much for the time. The factor of South Africa hosting the 10th BRICS Summit is essentially quite key, surely. Does this send out the right message that indeed we are fully part of the BRICS story?
Absolutely, and I mean, this is very pertinent that South Africa would host the summit at a golden age, certainly at a time where they need to take stock and reevaluate what has been achieved, and also just to plan for what needs to happen ahead. And I think this is particularly important that it's communicated to South Africans who will learn and know how they can benefit from the BRICS, and of course, in extension, the African continent.
Yeah, recapping on what we've been able to achieve, as you said, have we added anything to the BRICS grouping, do you think, as South Africa and of course as an African nation?
Absolutely, I think so. I think we've added the developing South component, where if you look at the 2013 eThekwini Summit, we were actually the first of 5 grouping to be able to invite countries. We initiated that, and to be able to have a dialogue with the African countries to hear from them what it is that they think they can benefit from the BRICS. And of course, as South Africa, we have been able to be in all these multilateral platforms where we actually sort of take forward the conversation of agenda setting, advancing South Africa's soft power, because we are not a hard power country, but absolutely just in agenda setting and being at the table. I absolutely
being a soft power then brings into question whether perhaps it would be better to have a bigger nation, the likes of Nigeria, to be a much stronger force. Would that be the case? Does that offer any sense of resolution to a matter like us being a soft nation, shall I say?
I think when you speak about a big nation, you need to be able to, mind the nuances. Do you mean a big country because of its economy?
Sure.
But if you look at South Africa, and I'm not saying this because I'm a South African, but we need to pay attention to not just the economy, but development, to look at our developmental agenda, because we are a country, one of the only countries that bring Africa into our foreign policy as a pillar. And also, if you look at all the forums that we sit on internationally, we are actually driving this agenda more than any other country in Africa.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel, however, and maybe it's just my own sentiment, that we don't give the right kind of energy to help the BRICS in itself really move forward. Like I said a little bit earlier, the trade situation across the world may be one where we now all come back with, or come through together to this summit with a combined purpose. Is that the essence of BRICS? Is that we needed to have found this combined purpose in order for us to perhaps, take on the rest of the world, shall we say?
I mean, understanding your statement, we also need to mind the fact that these are individual countries who have their own strategic sort of interest that they're trying to pursue within the global stage. And here comes little old South Africa. And I mean, I'm not quite big on the perception that we are just, the smaller country in the BRICS, because
if you look at S in the BRICS,
because if you look at the CRA arrangement of the BRICS, we all paid an equal amount. And even though South Africa is a small market, we were able to put forth what China put forth, and what Russia put forth, and what India put forth. So the premise of the BRICS and its principles, they pursue equality. Nobody is looked at as the smaller country or the bigger country.
Setting the agenda for this summit as well, quite critical, quite key as well. Making sure that we offer a way forward after this. The way we're going to judge this summit and its successfulness will be on concrete agreements, concrete transactions as well. Do you see those coming out of this
Absolutely. You know, if I take you back again to the eThekwini Summit in 2013, you know that the NDB, the National Development Bank, which has become so huge now, was actually agreed upon at the eThekwini Summit in South Africa. So I do look forward to having things that will be like the Gender Forum that has been proposed, that will, the Vaccination Center that has been proposed, and actually looking to hear more about what the Fourth Industrial Revolution means for the bloc, but also in extension for South Africa and Africa as a continent.
Women in BRICS, that's become a huge focal point, and validly so, as it should be. Is enough being done there, though?
That's the question. And I don't think we'll have enough time to talk about this now, but I will tell you that the South African Institute of International Affairs has recently just published a paper, Heart of the Press, that actually looks in detail about what does a woman and gender forum look like. And then we actually went on to look at what are the individual countries looking like in terms of their gender equality. And I mean, the story is not quite great. South Africa is leading in the ranking because we used the World Economic Forum ranking of 2017. South Africa ranked number 19, leading in the BRICS in terms of gender parity, followed by Brazil, Russia, followed by India very far, and of course China. And the story there is not so great in terms of what they're doing for women. And we are challenging them, and we're actually congratulating the South African government for putting forth this important forum, and I hope that they will agree on it. And actually more needs to be done in individual BRICS countries to actually
want to go to number one as well.
Absolutely, we want to go to number one, because if you look at Africa, Rwanda is probably like number 3. So we want to be able to reach those, and the Nordic countries are taking the top 3, and it's absolutely, we have to.
Let's talk about Rwanda. The significance of both Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and of course Xi Jinping, the President of China, both heading there before coming to South Africa. How significant are they?
I think that is quite significant, because I did have a look at the countries that they were going to separately, where Xi Jinping was covering, I mean, he is in South Africa, but he also went to Rwanda and Senegal. And Modi actually went to Uganda and Rwanda. So Rwanda is actually the common denominator here. And I mean, Rwanda has been termed the Silicon Valley of Africa. And I mean, it is a country that is emerging, and it's developing, and it's interesting. Absolutely. And I think that it's the key thing about Rwanda right now is that they are chairing the African Union, and President Kagame is heading up the AU reforms. So I think that is an area of interest for these two.
Rwanda, I really hope we can continue chatting throughout the summit in itself. A lot set to happen. A lot of commitments hopefully will be set forth as well, and people will be looking out for just exactly what agendas are set forward and are carried out throughout the summit and beyond. It's not just about the 3 days of this BRICS Summit, but certainly around how we systemically help the situation around not just the BRICS nations, but the emerging market story as well. That's it from us for now, but we will continue the discussion. Of course, we'll be here throughout the 3 days, and we'll bring you live coverage of just what's happening at the BRICS Summit. It's goodbye for me for now.